Hi guys, so today is, I guess, fuel system day, week, whatever you want to call it. We've made a little bit of progress on the car and trying to figure out how I want to run things, kind of walk you through what I got. So, go back up to the front of the car. We've got everything just mocked up. So this is fuel rail, pressure regulator. I'm gonna run a return style system. So mount of the fuel pressure regulator right here. There's a lot of people that will tell you not to mount it on the engine. We're gonna find out if that works or not. But I don't really know if I like this regulator. It's a fairly cheap one. It came with a fuel rail kit. I'm not really sure if I'm gonna run it. So I didn't want to go punching up a bunch of holes in the frame rails or the shock towers to mount that to, and then have to change it out. So I figured if we mount it on the fuel rail, if it works out, great. If it doesn't, no big deal. I can always change it off and just have to reroute the return. So this is the return. We are going with a -8 feed line. It's gonna come in from the passenger side. I'm pretty sure we're gonna route it. You can see where well, those are the cables, but the old fuel lines came out right through here. I'm gonna run the feed down behind the rear subframe over to my fuel filter, mounted on this side, and run the fuel line up through here, and then come through here into the feed on the passenger side. So return's gonna go straight from here, tuck it back down underneath this housing and back through I guess the original spot, or where they actually had the fuel lines run prior. So that'll go back there. Don't worry about the cables rubbing on the steering shaft. I have a collar coming for this. It'll keep it all separated and it won't rub on anything, so no big deal. That will pretty much handle under the hood with the filter, regulator, and feed and return. It should look still pretty clean. By the time we get everything over here situated, you won't really be able to tell. I say not be able to tell. It's not going to look tacky. I've seen a lot of K-swaps where the hoses come up to the side and go to the shock tower and then go back underneath the car, and I just don't want a whole lot of fuel lines cluttering up the engine bay. It's not that this is like a full tucked clean engine bay or anything like that, but I don't want it to look cluttered. It'd be not as nice as I can make it look. So what we were going with, the fuel system, the original hangers come out. This is the original hanger. Previous owner just had I think that's I don't know what that is, -8 feed, maybe. Yeah, I think that's a -8 feed, and then just a regular return. I've got this. I've never heard of this company before, but it's actually a really nice piece. Radium Engineering sells this. It's basically an aluminum plate with all your brackets. It does have an option. You can buy a conversion kit. This is just a single pump mount. They sell this for, all you have to do is, I'm pretty sure, change this out and they give you another fitting. But you can run dual pumps on this. This one, like I said, is just a single for now. That's all I really need with the pump that I'm running. And then it also has a spot up here where you wire into it, which gives you your pump 1 and pump 2 right there. It does come with a -6 feed and just a press-on style hose barb fitting for just your stock like return. What we're gonna do is we're gonna move the -6 to the return. And then they also sell this, which is gonna be a -8 feed. So this car will have a -8 feed, -6 return, all the way back to the tank. It is gonna be PTFE tubing, which will be good for E85. And then we are going to run this fuel pump. This is they call it a Hellcat. I think it's 525. It's just a Warborough 285 is what it is. It's an E85 friendly pump. This actually plugs directly into that. So this bracket is made for this pump and made for this car. So it all should bolt up fairly clean. We are also going to do a relay for the fuel pump. Again, pretty sweet stuff. There's my relay. We're going to wire this into the car because the factory Power wire isn't enough to really keep up with that pump. It's probably going to pull a lot more amps, so we need a lot more current going to it. So they sell this kit. There's a portion that goes to the relay itself, and then you use the factory pump positive to trigger the relay, and actually you'll have a much heavier gauge wire that runs to the fuel pump. So that should solve all of my fuel pump issues. I think that, again, just like everything else I've done in this car, the fuel system is way overkill for what I'm doing. It'll have this pump, it'll have some 1600cc injectors, I believe, and what else? Way too big a fuel line, way too big a return, but I don't want to redo the fuel system. If we ever go north of like 500-600, I want to be able to just change parts on the motor, build a motor, and turbo it instead of having to redo the entire car. So this should be plenty for me for a long time in this thing. So as of right now, we do have the car kicked back, leaning back on the ground. I'm draining the fuel system. It did have E85 in it. I don't plan to run this car on E85 to begin with, but it might get E85 at some point. So everything in the fuel system is E85 friendly. And then that's about it. Not too much has happened on the inside of the car. The power wire is not where it goes. Don't look at that. It looks pretty bad, but the dash is still out. We still need to do wiring before we put it all back in. I do have brakes. I do have a clutch. They work. All my brake lines are fitted, and I'm pretty much down to, well, not down to, but interior wise, I need to get the fuel pump back in it. I need to finish up the wiring, run the engine harness through the firewall, and then that's pretty much it under the dash. I would like to potentially start it back up, or make sure it starts up, or at least has key switch power before I put the dash back in, because I don't like laying on my back troubleshooting wiring. So we shall see how that goes. And then next up is going to be refinishing the intake. This looked like crap, so I sandblasted it. We're gonna give that another go. I didn't like the finish on it. I did get the belt installed. That's like simple stuff. Ooh, I wonder if I have the box. I don't know what I did with it. Anyways, that is not a special belt, but it is a pretty challenging one to get if you have a K24. Maybe I should give the rundown. So the belt part number is a 7PK1290K, and what that fits is a K24 with an EP3 pulley, which means, well, it has no power steering, it has no AC compressor, and it has a K20 crankshaft pulley, which is a smaller pulley. So that part number belt will fit on this application. No power steering, no AC, and a K20 pulley on your K24. So that's the part number you need. Thanks to my buddy for finding that out and measuring a bunch of belts and figuring out the one they have. This is the only one that I could find, or he could find, that was actually a 7-rib belt. All the other ones you see that are this length are going to be 6-rib, which works, but you still have your one extra rib out here. It looks like crap. So that is the right belt for the application. Other than that, clutch is in, down to, I don't know, down to finding the motivation to put this thing back together. I still need to do all the coolant lines, the radiator mount, and then overflow tank, and then all of the wiring. Obviously, I got to drop the rack back out of the car to put the collar in here. I really want to do that before I start buttoning up the back of the motor. I do have the header for it, 4 into 2 into 1. I do have the shield for this rear axle I got to put in, which is easy. Then the header will go in, then the wiring harness will go in, and then the rest of the exhaust can go into the car, and then that portion will be completed. But I've been kind of lazy lately, and I haven't really felt like messing with it, so that's where we're at. I guess let's see what happens. There's a header, everything's all apart, but I guess hopefully in the next video we have a fuel system in the car, and and maybe the header installed on it. So, and maybe the wiring harness, but that's the goal. We're still making progress, although slowly. Sorry, this is like way zoomed in, but I apologize for that. But we're still going after it. We're still trying to make it happen. And I guess, oh, I think I went over this in the last video, but pretty much everything in the rear suspension is done. All the sway bar is done. All the suspension is mounted. Everything is complete in the rear. Once I get the fuel system in the car, I can put the exhaust, hang the exhaust underneath it, and then pretty much done with the back end of the car. And that will be a big accomplishment. So everything from that point forward is going to be under the dash, under the hood, which is, I guess, the two most important parts of the whole car. But we'll see. We'll continue on, and I guess try to fix all that. So that's what I'm working with. Anyways, I appreciate you guys watching. I know this is kind of a short update, but that's all I got. All right, guys, another update. So doing the install, I found out the holes in the top of this thing are actually, when you take these two fittings off, they're two different sizes. Just know that getting into it. What works out great is the fact that when you buy their -8 adapter, the -6 adapter for the feed is the same size. I think it's a 10 ORB fitting. So that works out great, but you can't just move the feed to the return. Thankfully, they supply you with the proper part. Part of the kit comes with all these other fittings whenever you buy it. And one of the fittings that I needed is this one. So it has the smaller, I don't know if it's -6 or -8, but it has a smaller O-ring base with a -6 AM fitting. So, oh, derp. So pulled this one off, which is just a regular old push fitting, post clamp style, and then changed it to, also supplied in the kit, this -6. So -6, and then purchased that, removed this -6, added the -8. I think this is like 30 bucks for this fitting, which a little bit pricey, but when you start looking at it and comparing it to AM fittings, like these are some really, really good pieces. This whole kit, man, I'm like blown away with. It's actually really nice. So fuel pump is installed. Same thing, this hanger is made for this pump. They included all the pipe, all the wiring, everything. It came plug and play. I did put a zip tie around this just to make sure this doesn't come undone, and this is secured, and then clamps. And then, yeah, that's the fuel pump assembly ready to go in the car. They don't supply gaskets, so you're going to need to use the factory Honda gasket, but it does go into all of the factory locations. It's all machined out for it, so factory gasket. And this is done. There we go. Pretty sweet piece. Radium Engineering, not gonna lie, very impressed with that. Very impressed. So hopefully the rest of the car fuel system goes together just as easy, and we will continue on. I'll put it in the car.